We can't have enough backups. Be right back, everybody. Well, welcome everyone to today's training titled Blogging is the Key to Getting Top Search Engine Rankings that Bring Tons of Traffic and Sales. I am one of the co-hosts, Gina Gaudio Graves, the Dean and Founder of Directions University at directionsu.com, and we have got a great training lined up for you today. We have my friend and CU faculty member Jack Humphrey joining us today. Hello, Mr. Jack.
Hello, Ms. Gina. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic.
That was my fancy voice.
As we were waiting for you to come in this afternoon, I decided to pose one of my favorite questions, which is, what are your biggest blogging questions that you would like us to answer on today's webinar? And we got a couple of those questions asked in the questions box, Jack. Let's see how you might answer these questions with me, shall we?
Sure.
First one I'm going to have you take on directly because this is a really good one. Some people have been telling me that curated blog posts will never rank, but I put them in your place. What's your reply to that, Mr. Jack?
Well, that's not true for me or anybody that I've shown how to do proper curated posts. It's not true for the Huffington Post or TechCrunch or Mashable.com or lots and lots of sites that get millions of visitors every month. So anybody who's saying that is probably just not experienced how curation is supposed to be done. I can show tons and tons of examples of my own and many other people who do curated posts. It's nothing special. It's the newest thing about curation is the word curation. That's all. Bloggers have been doing this since blogging started. And if it wasn't working, then there wouldn't be any blogs in Google search. So, and we know that's not true. So
and guess what, Jack? You're going to have a chance to show them. You're going to have a chance to show them today exactly how to curate things the right way. Won't that be great?
Yep. I can't wait.
In fact, we are even going to have an opportunity to share with you guys just how Jack ended up maybe in the #1 position on Google in under 2 weeks for a keyword that had over 200 million competing search results, 100% through curation. So we're also going to talk about things like what the heck is curation and why is curation such a good thing to do. Another question we had was a really easy one. What is the best theme for a blog and why? Fantastic question, Paul. And Jack and I might actually have different answers on this. My favorite theme is a theme that was designed specifically on the blogging system that I teach. It is called My Instant Theme for Business. You can find it at askggg.com/MIT for theme. M like Mary, I-T for theme. The reason it is my favorite is really, really simple. It is the one and only one theme that I have ever used that causes the highest level of engagement to happen. Jack, why is engagement so important?
Because it's everything. It's everything that we're trying to do here. That's what relationship marketing is all about. So the more people that you have actually engaged with you through social on your site, through your comments on your site, all the way through to your email list. When you mail them something, they should be engaged and responsive. And you know, it all starts with your presentation to them the very first time they see you outside of social, on your domain, on your blog, on your site. Engagement starts there, the real serious engagement, the real relationship building. So either you've got it or you don't, and if you don't, you need it. You need really high engagement.
And the thing is, engagement directly fuels conversions. Conversions directly fuel sales. So if you want to improve sales, you got to improve conversions, and if you want to improve conversions, you better want to improve engagement. Everything we're going to share with you today by design is meant to really help you engage your audience so that you can get the highest conversions possible, therefore the highest sales possible. So before we get into the meat of today's presentation and really share with you not just a blogging system, but truly a relationship building system that can help you in your business, not just to make some money, but to do so much more than just making money. It's probably a good idea for us to at least get started letting you know a little bit about who we are and why you might want to listen to who the heck we are. So Jack, is it okay if I get started with who I am?
Absolutely. Unless you want to swap, and I'll tell everybody who you are and you tell everybody who I am.
Oh, that would be an interesting thing. We might have to do that on a future call. I like that idea. So as I've told you guys, I am Gina Gaudio Graves, the Dean and founder of Directions University. I didn't actually start out in my career as an entrepreneur knowing that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Way back in the 3rd grade, I was very clear on what my passion was. And I knew way back then that what I wanted to do with the rest of my life was to teach. But I've been through 19 years of Catholic education, and I saw my teachers sometimes having to take 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. In fact, in grade school and junior high, I had several teachers who had second jobs as garbage men, 3 of them to be exact, because they made more money as garbage men than they did as teachers. And while I knew I wanted to teach, I was also bound and determined to never have to be a garbage man ever. So I had done the research back in 3rd grade and learned that law school professors were the highest paid teachers around. So I decided I would go out and do exactly that. I'd get my law degree so that I could eventually teach law. And that worked fairly well for me. I eventually went to Notre Dame Law School, where I was on Notre Dame Law Review, got out of law school, got my first job as an attorney, and in order to really become a law school professor, you have to pay your dues for 4 to 6 years as a lawyer before you can even apply to teach. So I did just that. Finally, 1996, my big opportunity. I'd been practicing law for 6 years at that point, and my alma mater, Notre Dame, finally had an opening where I could actually apply to teach law school. So I did. For a few weeks, went through the whole interview process, and within less than a month, I finally got that letter I'd been waiting for that said that I had been accepted to become a law school professor at Notre Dame, and this was in February. Come September, just a few short months away, I would finally be fulfilling that dream I had had since the 3rd grade. But quite often, life has other things in store for us, as was the case in my situation. Just a couple of weeks after I got that wonderful letter, I got into a car accident that put me into a hospital bed and wheelchair for nearly the next 10 years. During that time, I had more than 50 operations, 9 major reconstructive surgeries on my spine, and for nearly 10 years, I needed a little over $40,000 a month in medication to keep me alive. I amassed over $9.9 million worth of medical bills. So I turned to the internet in late 96, early 97, simply as a way for making sure that I had $40,000 a month to make sure my medicine came in every single month, because without it I would have died in under 3 months. Well, my first business was in the day trading arena. I had a small portfolio. I had figured out using paper trading how I could actually make enough money with my small portfolio to pay for my medicine. And even when I first started out in the day trading arena, never did I think about opening a business in the day trading arena. So I went out to try and find a way to ensure that I'd be able to make this money through day trading. And back then, there were quite a few membership sites, but every one of them was very expensive, like $500 to $1,000 a month expensive. And I wanted to join not one, but several. Well, there was no way I had the money to do that. So I put a plan together. Maybe I could go and talk the owners of these sites into letting me come in just one day a week to teach. I loved to teach. This was just one more opportunity to do that. And if I could go in and teach their members how to do what I was doing as a day trader, maybe they'd give me their membership for free. Well, that worked pretty darn well. Within a week, I had 5 different sites that all said, yep, I could come in and teach one day a week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I was teaching for an hour during the lunchtime slowdown. Within a couple of months, I was doing so well as a teacher that the members of these sites started begging me to open my own site. Well, I didn't know what that sounded like. Didn't sound like a bad idea. Maybe that might work. Okay, I'll try it, I thought. So I decided to put a plan together to open one of the very first membership sites on the Internet. It's probably one of the first 250 to 300 membership sites. But I didn't want to do anything that could hurt the 5 sites that had been so good to me. So my plan was really based on finding a way to give their members an additional benefit by joining my site at a much less expensive price, but they could only join if they were already a member of one of these other 5 sites. Well, within 90 days, I had the 500 members I wanted, and I capped it and closed the membership at 500 members. From that point forward, we always had a waiting list. There were always 500 members in my membership site. And because I was making $125 a month from each one, I knew even if I didn't day trade, I'd have that $40,000 a month that I needed to pay for my medication. That worked really, really well. And to make sure that the membership was always full with the waiting list, I had started to figure out things like traffic and conversions and what you had to do to get new people into your world. But by 2000, 2001, again, life had other things in store for me. By then, my health had declined so much that I really couldn't continue to keep up with the hours of content that I had to put into this site. So I sold that business to a member and opened my second business, which I thought was going to become an internet ad agency. But very quickly, people started asking me for a new kind of traffic. And they were calling it joint venture traffic. I didn't really know what that meant, but I was a lawyer. I knew what a joint venture was. And I was an internet ad agency, or so I thought. I knew what traffic was. So I decided I'd do what I had done so many times by then. I'd go and research it and see if I could figure it out. It turned out that what they really wanted was a joint venture broker. They wanted someone that had access to website owners, list owners, people who had customers that they could sell their stuff to. Well, that seemed easy enough. So I said, sure, I can do joint venture traffic. And I became one of the very first JV brokers on the Internet. Now, you have to understand the way a JV broker gets paid. JV brokering can be a very lucrative profession because you really don't need to have anything special to succeed with it. You don't need a website. You don't need a list. You don't need to drive traffic. You don't need products to sell. You're simply going to make the connections for people and get a percentage of all of those sales. Well, I started seeing that if I did what I was supposed to do and I took someone who had an awesome product or service and connected them to someone who had a gigantic list and tons of traffic, sometimes it made sales happen, but sometimes it didn't. Well, if my income depended on the sales being made because I got a percentage of them, I couldn't leave it up to chance. I couldn't rely on maybe it would work and maybe it wouldn't. I needed that medicine to keep me alive every single month no matter what. So it took me a couple of years, but I finally realized that if I was going to be successful as a JV broker, I really needed to master the art of traffic, conversions, and relationship marketing. So over the course of 2 years, using many different clients that I had back then, I was able to create a system that is what I teach today. And it's really a system that helps you to really build relationships that generate leads that you can then sell anything else you want to. And by the time I put that system in place in 2003, 2004, it really would ensure that the vast majority of the JVs I organized were going to be successful. In fact, it worked so well that I never had to advertise my services as JV broker. People found me purely through word of mouth and very quickly started calling me the JV Queen. Many of the larger gurus in the internet marketing space, people like Russell Brunson, Willie Crawford, Mike Filsaime, most of them are all former clients of mine, many of them people I launched their very first products for. Well, again, while that worked really, really well, and it allowed me to pay off a little over $6 million hard cash of my medical bills, again, life had other things in store for me. It was January 29, 2005, when my doctors told me that I had just 12 to 18 months to live. I knew I had been sick, but I was only 40 years old. I had no idea I was sick enough that I could be dying. So my husband and I went home that night, and we talked it over, and together we decided that I wanted to see the country before it would be time to die. So he went out and found an RV that he could retrofit with my hospital bed and my oxygen and my IV poles, and within a couple of weeks we had hit the road, thinking we'd have 8 to 10 months to see the country before it would be time to go home and die. Well, 6 months into this trip, it was my 41st birthday. That week, we happened to be in Sedona, Arizona. And that week, as I had done every week during the trip, I had drawn my own blood, taken my blood to whatever hospital was in the local area, gotten the test reports to send back to my doctors. But that week, the test reports from 3 different blood draws were all a little different than I had ever seen before. In fact, I didn't even know that this result was even possible. All 3 results came back saying that this patient was clinically dead. That's how sick I was by then. Needless to say, my husband really knew that this was going to be my last birthday, and he wanted it to be the best last birthday I could possibly have. So he found a massage therapist that he could take me that day, hoping to help with the pain for just that one day. He helps me up on her table, and she looks at me and she says, "You know, you don't have to die as soon as you think." And I'm kind of thinking to myself, yeah, right, how much is this one going to cost me? But she really wasn't trying to sell me anything at all. She went on to tell me that if I could just remove the negativity from my life, I didn't have to die as soon as I thought. Well, I explained to her that I was probably the most positive person that she was ever going to meet. And she said, well, if all you have is just a positive mental attitude, that's not going to be enough to actually save your life. Well, now I'm confused, trying to figure out what it is that she's trying to tell me. So I started asking her some questions. And by the end of that one massage, she had given me some ideas that I really had never heard of before, never really thought of before, never realized that it was important to not only have a positive mental attitude, but to actually make sure that the people in your life were positive, that your actions were positive, that everything about your life was set up in a positive way. Well, in fact, it gave me so much to think about that I decided to do what I did best by then and go out and research it. So for the next 4.5 months, that's exactly what I did. And as I applied what I learned from the research, I went from a wheelchair to a walker to a cane to walking with no assistance at all, even though to this day I have no feeling in my legs and feet. I simply balance by feeling the ground in my hips. I was able to stop 42 pills per day, 4 continuous IVs per day. I had been bald, my hair came back, I lost 68 pounds without going on a diet, and within just 4.5 short months, I had gone from being almost dead to being 100% well. And it's what I call today my miraculous transformation. It felt like I had been given this mammoth gift, one that I absolutely positively had to repay. And it really made me look at everything different, life, business, people, you name it. And I started to realize that while I'd made a lot of money for a lot of people, myself included, I really hadn't done a lot to make much of a difference at all. And that's why I decided to close the doors to my consulting and brokering business and to open the doors to Directions University, where we're really about 4 things. We help entrepreneurs like all of you to get direction for both your life and your business. We show you how to give direction to your prospects and your customers. And our goal is really to help you impact the direction of the world. And the whole blog training today is really about those 4 things. It's about giving you direction for your life and business, showing you a system that really can help you guide your prospects and customers. And I'm hoping that each and every one of you use what you learned today to really impact the direction of the world. As I've moved forward growing direction to you since 2007, we've finally gotten to the point where we can start adding faculty members. And I am truly honored to have my friend Jack Humphrey joining DU this year as a faculty member, because a lot of what I teach about traffic and search engine marketing really came from what I learned from Jack years ago when I was still a JV broker crafting that system that I taught and used for so many years. So with that, Jack, I will turn the baton over to you and let you tell us, who is Jack Humphrey?
Yes, who am I? I love your story, Gina. I still just love it. It's taught me not to complain so much about little things or put into perspective what's really a big thing and what's really a little thing. So thanks for that. And
you are so welcome.
Some of you guys know me. Some of you guys don't know me. You can read through this as I talk. You know, it's the basic dinosaur of the web's, you know, history. I started in '98. I started with Google, and I figured something out as Google and I were born on the web in '98 that very, very few other people had figured out, and no one had really put to words. I was around before the term SEO, or search engine optimization, was even a term. And it didn't come around until there was a search engine that you could actually, that was algorithmically driven, like Google, to even optimize for. So I figured out way, way long ago that when I was building my sites, that I could outrank people just by having one more link from another site on the web than they had. So if they had 1,000 links, I had 1,001 links. Bam, I was number 1, they were number 2, or wherever, you know, wherever we were jockeying for position on that front page. And that led me to write the book Power Linking. It was actually called Power Linking Your Way to 1 Million Hits, and I sold over 50,000 copies at $47 a pop, and launched an awful lot of people's web careers through that by getting them the traffic that they were seeking, by getting the search engine rankings to get the traffic that they were seeking. So I've conservatively added up, you know, how much that traffic has probably been worth since 2002, and I came up with conservative 1.5 billion targeted visitors that I've helped generate, not just with my first book, but subsequent books, courses, products and membership sites like Blog Success. I'm a founder of that. I came up with the idea for CurationSoft, which is now my partner's software. It used to be called Utility Poster before I figured out a better name for it. And so a lot of you have probably heard about that software. A lot of you are users of that software. And others of you might know me from Friday Traffic Report, a podcast, a long-standing podcast that I had done with Jim Stroud. It's now on mothballs, but that was around for quite a long time. And my biggest thing right now is just running Brick Road Media, which is my local marketing firm, and teaching people the stuff that I've learned all of these years. So the reason that I teamed up with Gina is that I'm really, really into leverage these days. In fact, if you've read Bending the Web, it's a free ebook. You can just go to bendingtheweb.com and download it. And you'll see really quickly why and exactly what I'm doing as far as leverage is concerned. But these old bones, at 45, I'm just too tired to do things like I used to on the web. And I figured out that I'm going to have to figure something out to do as well as I have on the web thus far differently, because I just am not into it. And lots of the people that I've taught over the years never I was. You know, they were like, can this be done easier? Is there any easier way? And I'm like, no, you just got to work. You just got to work like crazy. Work hard. Work. Like me. You know, stay up all night and do all this stuff. And I found that most people really weren't into it. And I never could figure that out because I was a workaholic, and that's just the way I wanted it to be. And then I started slowing down, and I had a kid. He's 7 now, and in the last 7 years with that and family stuff and everything, I really couldn't afford to spend just every waking moment on the web doing what I did. I had to find an easier way, and so I did. I started looking at all the successful people online. Think Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich. I started following around the equivalent of his Andrew Carnegie's around on the web. The people who were really, really killing it and figuring out exactly what they did. Exactly the way that I backtracked or reverse engineered Google in the early years, I backtracked and reverse engineered the success stories who didn't seem to be working as much as me. In fact, pictures of me were all from conferences that I would go to. Pictures of them that they would put on the web is they were on yachts and they were fishing and they were taking their family places. I'm like, wait a minute, their pictures are even different than mine. I'm working in all my pictures. They're not. So I figured out that leverage was exactly how they did it, and it's exactly how I was going to proceed. And then what I figured out through all of that was is what's represented in Bending the Web. And so coming and hooking up with Gina's massive infrastructure made it so that I didn't have to worry about my infrastructure. She's already got all this stuff going. She's already built it. She's already got this huge crowd, and I got my crowd, and I thought our crowds would really get along well together. That's why you guys are all here together on the webinar today. And sharing that burden makes it so that I can effectively have a family and a life and all of that, and do a lot more by working a lot less. Using leverage in a bunch of different ways has helped me to do that. So I call it web bending. That's my little moniker for what it is I do, and that's what I'm here to teach and help you guys with through this and the workshop that's coming up this weekend.
Well, and that's really what the power of relationships is all about, right? Jack and I technically are competitors, but we really have a unique perspective on building successful businesses. Jack and I both believe, as does Ken as well, that there is no such thing as competition. There might be co-opetition. We all get so much more working together than we do trying to go out and do it ourselves. That's what leverage is all about. How do you get bigger results with less time and less effort? And working together, we really can make a bigger impact, reach more people, and get more of what all of us really want, both the money and the time freedom. Because after all, Jack, it's really about the freedom, not about the money, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's just, it's what's on most people's minds, but then they get into this stuff, and then they start going, wow, this is really not much freedom. This sure does suck. This sure is a lot of work. Or you've heard it, and you've never even attempted some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today because you've heard the horror stories. You've heard friends that have gotten into this business, or you've just watched people work, and you can tell by the output that they have when they do launches and they do blog posts and they do all this stuff. It just doesn't seem like they're very free. Some of them are. It makes it look like they're really, really working hard. Like me, that's what I try to convey on my site as much as possible. I'm working really hard. I'm always there for you guys 24/7, but honestly, I'm not. And none of us should be. You should have a system that makes a customer, a lead, a prospect feel that way. But you need to also have a system that takes care of you and gives you the freedom so you don't lose your mind and you don't become a workaholic.
And our unique perspective on building successful businesses can really be boiled down into 3 things. First and foremost, mindset really is everything. Just my own story is a testament to that. If you get the mindset piece right, you can mess up everything else. You can do the blogging wrong and the traffic and lead generation wrong and everything else wrong and still get great results. But the opposite is also true. Get the mindset piece wrong, do everything else perfectly, and more often than not, you're still left empty-handed. So all of you really want to develop a very positive, abundant mindset. We're going to talk a little bit today about what that means and what that looks like. Second, the other thing we really know is that success comes from building strategically. And if you've been around for any length of time in the entrepreneurial space, you've probably heard that word before, strategically, strategic planning, get the strategy right. What does that really mean, though? Well, building strategically is very simple. It simply means using strong goal-setting principles. In other words, planning from the end to work your way backward to figure out how to go from where you're at to where you want to be. And we're going to show you a little bit of what that means today and how you do that. So many times I see people who just are not getting the results they want in their business. And I'll ask them a simple question like, what do you want to have in your life and your business 1 to 3 years from now? And I get a very simple answer. Well, I want to make $10,000 a month. I want to make $1 million a year. I want to make $100,000 a year. If that's all you want, you're going to have a really tough time building strategically. Building strategically means to think in detail about what you want in the future so that you can really look at all of the elements of what you want to figure out what needs to be in place and how you go from where you're at to where you want to be. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. And the third unique thing that we know is that if you can see it and believe it, you absolutely can achieve it. Napoleon Hill once said, what the mind of man can conceive and believe, the mind of man can achieve. And that is so, 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 so true. Success starts right here, right now. And I want to ask you guys some questions and actually get you to answer them in the questions box. What is it that you really want? Why are you here on this call with us today in this blog training? Do you really want traffic? Do you really want subscribers? Or do you really want something else? Do you really want to have a business that is successful? One that will make more money in your sleep? Or do you really want traffic? Who's got a good answer for what is it that you really want in your business? Is it about the traffic? Is it about the subscribers? Is it about the money? Or is it about something else? I'm going to give you guys a chance to type those answers in. Carrie says, make money in your sleep. Paul says he wants to set up his blog the right way to build relationships. Great answer, Paul. Who else? Usually when we ask this answer, one of the biggest things that we hear is that people really do want a business that can both make money and change the world. And I'll tell you something. If you can really go out and serve your prospects to the best of your ability, really focus on building the relationships with them, really focus on over-delivering, really giving them the best of the best that you can get, you will absolutely, positively make money from doing it. No question about it. It's a matter of serving while strategically monetizing. And the training you guys are listening to today is a very different system. Most internet marketing training, most blogging training is a system that's based on selling people stuff. This is not that kind of a system. This is very different. It's not about selling people anything. It's about serving people. And if you really understand serving, then you also know that if you're just giving people stuff for free, you're not actually serving them very well. Jack, if you gave your very best teaching to people for free, let's say you did that to 100 people, how many of them would actually apply it, use it, and get the result you wanted for them?
Do you want the honest answer?
I do.
Not very many. Just from human nature. Human nature, people don't, they don't take things up. And that's why, but that's true for anything. That's true for business in general, online, offline, everywhere in the world. Most people, you know, my dad always said when I was eating, my eyes were always bigger than my stomach. I'd stand at a buffet and just grab up all this stuff. And I was never going to be able to consume it all or hit my goal of eating it all. And this is the same thing on the web and in business in general. Most of the people, for some reason or another, you can hand them the keys to the kingdom, and they won't take you up on all of it or some of it. There'll be some missing pieces, things they didn't want to do, or things like that.
Now, what if you were to charge them, say, $10, Jack? Would that make any difference in how many of them used what you gave them?
Yes, just getting them to whip out their credit card for any amount makes people a little bit more dedicated to stopping with the dreaming and starting with the implementation. Quite a bit more people follow them.
And I have actually tested this and can tell each and every one of you, the more you charge, the more likely people will be to actually use what you're sharing with them to get the results you want for them. It's oftentimes like a 10 to 20 times improvement. If I'm giving something away for free, less than 1% of the people that get it actually ever open it and even start to consume it. If I just charge even $10, 5% will actually open it and start to consume it. But even at $10, although they'll open it and consume it, getting them to actually do something with it, nowhere near 5% at that point. So the key to serving, if you really want to make a difference for people, is to really understand that you've got to be selling them something, not just delivering great stuff for free. Cynthia says that she wants to find like minds and build collaborative communities. Cynthia, what a great vision. And you're going to want to do that by having something you can sell to them so that they really want to collaborate. And I think it's Adri says, create value, generate income, and help others. Great answer. Just keep in mind that money is an expression of gratitude. Blogging is really about both. It's about giving them great stuff that is free, but doing it in a way that gets them to see that if they want bigger results, better results, or faster results, they're going to have to opt in or pay something for it. Success starts right here, right now, today. When you guys leave today's webinar, take some time and actually write down your answers to these two questions. What will you achieve? What is your vision, both for your life and for your business? What is it that you really want in the next 1 to 3 years? It's way bigger than just how much money do you want to make. What kind of an impact do you want to make on people, on their lives, on even the world? And it's really a 3-step process. It starts with outlining your goals. That's why that assignment is so important. So really go sit down and write out on paper, longhand style. What will you achieve? What is your vision? What do you want 1 to 3 years from now? That's the first step of a 3-step process. The second step is to look back at what you just put down for what it is that you want and to plan your approach. How will you go from where you're at to where you want to be? And the third step is to implement that plan. And Jack and I have both seen most people, they just jump over steps 1 and 2, and they go right to step 3 with implementation. And when they do that, they get taken out more often than not, don't they, Jack?
Yeah. Yeah, everybody wants to jump to that because that's what they think is the quickest way to get where they want to go. They're kind of cheating the system, or they think there's a way to cheat the system. But of all the people that I've worked with over all the years, all of these great masterminds of what we call internet marketing, online marketing, brand building, I can't find a single one in that huge list of people that I've ever seen that has gone straight to number 3 and succeeded. They all had 1 and 2, and that's without a single exception.
Yeah, I've seen the same exact thing over and over again. Why is it so important to spend some time planning your approach? Well, It's because you really need to understand the why. To really understand at a philosophical level what building your business is all about. We live in a very different world today online than we did when I first got started in 96 and 97, or when Jack got started way back when Google was born. Today, search engines are not optional. Ranking high on search is not an option. It is absolutely critical to your future success. We live in a world where people have very, very short attention spans. Quite often they're multitasking. They're searching on their cell phone at the same time they're watching television. 75% of the people searching on Google are never going to scroll beyond the first page of search results. So you can't just get found on page 20. You've got to find a way to get found up on page 1. But massive amounts of information are produced each and every day. There are more than 500,000 brand new blog posts published on WordPress sites every day. Well, holy cow, how the heck are you supposed to get to the first page of Google if there are over 500,000 new posts that came out just today alone? There are something like 48 hours of video uploaded to YouTube every single minute. You're competing with all of that as well. Jack, do you hear a bunch of static?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and switch over now that I'm in. I'm going to switch over to the phone line on the GoToWebinar. I wanted to let you know just in case if I dropped off it messed with your call. So I'm going to do that.
Oh, good. Thank you.
We'll
Hopefully it finds. Great. Hopefully it gives us a way to actually get rid of the static at the same time. Oh, and Cynthia says she needs to move from theory to implementation. Cynthia, that's awesome. Hopefully you've done a good job of outlining that whole plan before you get to the implementation piece. You know, content marketing plus search is really what all of you need to do. When Google first got started, it was really about backlinks. The more we could just put a little bit of content up and go get thousands of backlinks to that content, the more we'd get found on the first several pages of search. But we don't live in that internet anymore. Today's internet is a very social internet, which means that today you've really got to combine your content marketing with social marketing. There are so many people searching on Google every single day, and getting traffic from Google is really going to help your business a lot. But you can usually get more buyers from social sites than you can just from search. Not all traffic is really equal. Different traffic sources actually generate different kinds of traffic. And if all of you really want to build relationships, if you really want to make a difference, it's going to mean that you've got to use a combination of social and search. And the way that you do that is using content. It's really about getting leverage. Leverage comes from using other people's stuff. There's this huge problem in Google's eyes that exists in today's world. Because there is so much new content put out every single minute and every single day, it is humanly impossible for any one person to ever get through all of the content that already exists on any given topic. If you're going out writing new blog posts, posting new stuff on social, putting out new videos, and all of that is all original, in Google's eyes, you're proliferating the problem. You're making it even harder for people to get to all the great stuff that exists by making it grow even bigger. The solution to that problem in Google's eyes is what's called content curation. C-U-R-A-T-I-O-N instead of C-R-E-A-T-I-O-N. Jack, what the heck does content curation even mean?
Well, on the level that everybody seems to understand it in the beginning, they think it's about, you know, gathering up some really cool, interesting stuff that you want to put in front of an audience that's, of course, relevant to them and they're interested in. That's what you hope. And putting it all together in one page of content on your site. usually a blog post. And you would be right in the very, very basics of curation. But what it really is, and this is what everybody needs to get, especially with the person who asked that question earlier, that they heard curation is bad. If you just go out and collect a bunch, if you go out and you collect a bunch of stuff, even if it's all on topic, even if it has all the right keywords and it makes your post look pretty good, that's not good enough. There's a lot of sites out there that have done this. We did this long, long ago when that's all you needed to do, and we showed people how to build sites that way so that they didn't have to write anything. Well, you can't do that anymore. You have to write something. You have to tie a bow on this content and develop it into a context that is new to the web that's never been seen before. And the way to guarantee that is it comes from you. There's only one you. You're the only one who will talk about a certain issue the exact way that you do and that you will, and you are putting a new spin on content that already exists. And you're not creating yet another piece of content that Google's seen 10,000 times before. Even though 90%, 80%, 70% of the stuff on the page that you've curated is curated stuff. It's not your stuff. You didn't write it. There's a very important thing about this top part of the post that you see on the screen here, and that's that I wrote that. I put it into context. There are tons and tons of ultimate guides to Google+. Tons of them. You can do a search right now. Luckily, you'll find mine in the top 10, and I just wrote this 3-4 weeks ago. But when I say I wrote this, I should say that I published this, and I gave my editorial comment up there in the first 4 paragraphs. And I wrote a little bit of something in between each one of the things down below. But I did not create the ultimate guide to Google+ so much as I curated it. And I made it important, and I made it singular on the web. There is nothing else like this on the web, even though there's millions of ultimate guides to Google+ on the web. There's nothing like this on the web because it comes from my unique perspective of what's most important on this topic of Google+. And the things that I think, and the most important thing, the people that I think are most important to learn from when it comes to Google+. Now, I included 3 people that I knew had really big followings in Google+, and had really a lot of clout, not just there, but other social sites. And I knew that if I included their stuff, number one, it had to still be good. It had to be about the best of the best, or among the best that's out there. But of course, I didn't put every Google+ expert out there. There were people that I found later, after I made the post, that ended up in this ultimate guide. It's a living page. I didn't just post and forget it. I'm nurturing it to this day because I'm getting everything I can out of it, because I connected people and their content and other content that I found all together in one post. I've curated how-to guides and articles and blog posts and the people that go with them, the people that publish them, so that I could harness all kinds of different things with curation and really call it 100% just about the most complete job you can do on professional curation in one post possible. So I got all these people together. They saw that I published about them. They started going out and saying, hey, Jack just put this thing up on his blog, and it's got my articles in it. You guys should go check it out. And you see on the left-hand side, you see 150 plus one so far. And I say so far because this is a living document. This isn't a post that you just put up and it just goes to the back of your mind, goes to the back of your readers' minds. This is getting introduced every single day to new people all the time. Since I put this out, and since I called these very key people out and said, hey, you guys, I just published something, and you guys feature really big in this curation that I did on the Ultimate Guide to Google+, they went out, they told all their friends. Some people then started finding me, like Jana Nordstrom, who is got 415,000 something followers, or maybe more than that, close to 500,000 followers on Google+, and she put me on a list of, she curated a list of all the ultimate guides or all the great resources for Google+, and this post was one of the things that she curated. I found out about that because she did plus Jack Humphrey in Google+. That brought it up on my screen, and I'm like, okay, what's this all about? Holy crap, this girl's got 500,000 people following her. Awesome, great, this is really working exactly the way I know curation does. And so we've been using this in trainings for the past few weeks because it has shown that you can do this. Now, I don't have 150 plus ones on any of my other posts at Jack Humphrey. And if you look, if you could see the dates on my stuff, or if you've been following it, you'll know that I haven't been blogging. So I've gotten this blog down to as close to your level as possible. If you're just starting out, I can't take away the juice that I've garnered over the years with links and everything else to my blog. But as far as activity goes, content marketing, relationship marketing is like you being a shark. You will die. You can't breathe anymore if you stop swimming. You can never stop swimming. So effectively, my blog was as dead as it could be without me just taking it down, minus or not counting all the juice that links and things that I'd gotten before, but it had been as dormant as it could be. And this was my attempt, my successful attempt to bring my blog back in a really big way and start blogging again and start relationship marketing through this site again. And I curated this. Be something really good for everybody to take away today, to just go there. First thing you should do is give it a +1, please, and and make a comment.
You can do that at askggg.com/Jack. askggg.com/Jack. It's in the chat box already for you guys.
Yeah, thank you. But so there are a lot of things we've been analyzing this. How could I make it better? How could I make it better? So we've been going through all these things. It's not even anywhere near what I'd call the perfect curated post. I thought it was pretty good when I started. It got better, and I opened it up so people would contribute to this and feel like contributing. That's engagement. That's relationship marketing. I didn't just say, here I am, the expert, and you listen to me, you follow all this advice, and then come back and tell me how great I am. And I don't really care to hear anything you have to say. No, no, no. That is old. There's not a website on the web right now that's succeeding with that model, other than the ginormous ones where people, are like, well, we go here to hear from this expert, and we're like, that's the soup Nazi. We're just keep your eyes down, don't make eye contact, don't make any kind of comments or anything else, and that's not the way the web works. You're supposed to develop conversations on the web, and you're supposed to put something up in the first place that could even be, people could even be bothered to talk about. And move the discussion to them. Here's what I had so far. Now I want you to be a part of this giant resource and share your favorite stuff. I knew I hadn't covered everything. I didn't cover everything on purpose so that there would be enough left over for everybody else to go, wait, what about this guy? And I'm like, okay, you're right. What about that guy? And then I moved it up from comments up into the article if it was really significant. Otherwise, I left it in the comments and just let the discussion keep going and going, nurturing it. And all of that in a very small space of time that we have here is what goes into making up real curation. Now, Michael, is that the kind of curation that you were talking about earlier? Is that the kind of thing you had in your mind? Or is that the thing that probably other people that you were asking getting that kind of feedback, curation is bad, curation no good, and they're acting like the dude with the fire and Frankenstein and all that? No, this is way different. This is way different. This is super high quality stuff. Google sees this and knows that I've gotten 150 votes in Google Plus for this by real people that are vetted by Google, their own social search engine, Google Plus. And that's exactly why Google, one of the biggest reasons why they came up with their own social media site. They were missing a lot of stuff they couldn't see on Facebook, because so much of it was private and off limits to them. So they came up with their own social network. Now they know exactly what real people think about billions of pages of content all over the web. And in this particular example, 150, many of whom are extremely significant +1s, meaning they have a huge following, they're extremely well vetted and well known to Google, have said, this deserves a +1. This is the new link building for 2013 and beyond.
This is really what we mean by leveraging social and content marketing together at the same time. If we look at the search results that Jack has gotten in the last couple of weeks from this, #1 position for the word Fall 2013 Ultimate Guide to Google+, which is the title of this post, is Jack's post. But look what's in the other search results. The number 2 result is one of the first people that Jack curated, Yifat Cohen. She went out and talked about this on her Google Plus profile and brought more eyeballs to it. Hers ends up in the number 2 position. I believe that one of Martin's things on the first page is for your stuff also. There are several on here that are all because of Jack's posts. That's what we call dominating the search results. And that's exactly what you want to start doing. And that's what we're going to be talking about step by step today. How do you leverage the content that other people have created so that you can curate content onto your site and tie the curated content to social in a way that really starts and continues the conversation? Had Jack just put this article up, put that nice little call to action in, asking for people to bring new stuff in through the comments, and then left it alone and did absolutely nothing, it would not be in the number 1 position on Google today. And we're going to talk a little bit about why not and what he did to make that happen. Why do you want to use a blog at the heart of your business? Well, for so many reasons. You don't want different sites. You want one and only one site that uses WordPress. It becomes both the thing that you use to put your content out, the thing that you tie to social, the place that the traffic comes into your world, and the place that you deliver everything that you have to offer. Why is it important to do that? Oh my goodness, look at the numbers. More than 57 million Americans alone read blogs. Over 346 million people worldwide read blogs, and I saw an update as of 2 weeks ago. That number is now over 430 million people worldwide. Over 19.7% of all websites today use WordPress. That's pretty significant, isn't it, Jack?
Yeah, nothing else comes anywhere close to that. There's no other platform or any kind of, probably the only other thing that comes close to it is databases, MySQL, and that's it. And if you don't know what that is, you don't have to worry about it, but that's what drives a lot of WordPress sites. So that also drives some other types of sites. There's no other single thing that comes even remotely close to almost 20% of the web being run on WordPress.
Actually, if we look at only those sites that use content management systems, and then within those sites, look at how many of them use WordPress, over 54.6% of all sites using content management systems are using WordPress. That is huge. But more importantly, the reason we use WordPress, and so many websites use WordPress, is because that's where the money is at. Again, if we're really serving our audience to the best of our ability, we've got to also be selling them something. More than 51% of all blog readers shop online. Most people don't even realize when you go out and look at keywords like wedding dresses, for example, that doesn't mean that people are looking to buy wedding dresses online. People are searching for wedding dresses simply because they're looking for how to buy the perfect wedding dress. What is the perfect wedding dress? In other words, people are out there doing their research online, and only through the research do they then make a decision on what to buy. Where are they doing that research? On blogs all over the internet. And they're doing it in a big way. Blogs have become a big part of people's lives. The average blog reader spends more than 23 hours online each week. And it's because of this that more than half of all bloggers report an income of more than $75,000 a year. If you really want to both make a difference and make money, you've got to be using WordPress to do it. So how do you get results with blogging? Well, there's really 6 key elements to getting results using a blog. We're going to bullet point these first, and then we're going to go and take each one in a little bit more detail. First, you want to have the right writing style and the right mindset. And that really boils down to You've got to see yourself as the expert. Until you see yourself as an expert, no one else will either. So being the expert, coming from that place of positivity and abundance, really makes a big difference, especially when it comes to content marketing and social. Second element, target your market. We're going to talk about what it means to target your market, why it's important, and what that looks like. Where do you target? How do you target? Third, you want to use a modular approach to building your online presence. You want your website, your blog, to become the heart and soul of your business. And it truly becomes the heart of your traffic whirlpool. And it is very much a whirlpool or a vortex. It has sucking power. Anyone that touches your content, no matter where they see it, in search, in social, even offline, all of a sudden gets sucked in. And they get sucked in first to the content on your blog, and from the content on your blog to the pages that directly make you money and grow your list. Third key ingredient, choosing the content to curate. You don't want to just pick and choose any old content to curate. It really is about leverage, and we're going to talk about why that's important and how you do that. Fifth key element, you want to use multiple creative formats so that you don't create some content in the form of an article, other content in the form of a video, still other content in the form of an image. You want to have all of your content in as many creative formats as possible. There are 5 creative formats. 4 are critical with blogging. Write these down. They are audio, video, text, slideshows, and images. Slideshows is the only one that isn't critical with blogging. The other 4 really are. We'll talk about how you do that and why it's important. And then 6th, and probably most important, be consistent. Blogging once a month or once every couple of months is just not enough to build a relationship with your readers. If you really want to build relationships, you've got to blog consistently, especially the first 90 days. I'm going to talk about how consistently what that looks like and how you do that. So let's take a look at each one of these one at a time. First, the right mindset, the right writing style, be the expert. As Jack alluded to earlier, building a business can feel like a lot of work. If we really need to use content marketing and social tied together, then you really need to sound like you're an authority on whatever it is that you're talking about. Because of curation, you don't need to have the nitty-gritty details of what it is you're talking about. You can leave that to the content you're curating. But you at least need to know the lingo. You at least need to sound like an authoritative figure on the topic. And that's a part of why it's so important to find and follow your passion in growing your business. The more passion you have for your niche and your topics, the less it will feel like work and more like fun. The more passion you have around what you do in the niche, in the space, in the topics, the more likely you will be to sound like an authority when you talk about it. So you don't need to be like the biggest expert on the topic, but you need to at least have enough passion that you know the lingo. You really want to make sure that you're always coming from a place of abundance and not a place of scarcity. A great example of scarcity mindset is what you see so often with book launches. So often, authors will give away the first chapter of their book, expecting that that will help them sell the following chapters of the book. It doesn't usually work that way. It doesn't work that way because people oftentimes pad that first chapter, so it's really nothing more than a bunch of fluff. Why is that valuable to people? If you're really coming from a place of abundance, then what you want to do is give away an overview of the entire book so that people really get a flavor for the book, so people really have an expectation of how great the stuff in the book really is, so that it can really make people want the book even more. What you then sell them is two things. Number one, the detail, the stuff that will help them step by step, that will make it easier to apply and implement. And second, access to you. When they buy the book, maybe you can include a free webinar where they get to do Q&A. Maybe you can include a membership site that has a community aspect to it where they can get their questions answered. Again, it's coming from a place of abundance instead of scarcity, but it's also giving you that way of really building relationships. You can't build relationships talking at people using an HTML website the way we did when Jack and I got started. You've got to build relationships through conversations. And that means really becoming the expert in your own mind and really eventually through how you language what you share, truly being seen as the influencer in what you do. Experts and influencers speak in a very specific way. They write in a very specific way. If you're going to start and continue conversations, you cannot be putting content out that sounds like it's a white paper, that's very sterile, that's very cold, that's very flat. Your writing and your speaking need to have an air of authority about them. Self-confidence, self-assuredness, not necessarily bragging. And that air of authority can oftentimes be created simply by asking a lot of questions. Like, are you guys getting this? What do you guys really want in your business? Do you want just traffic and subscribers? Do you really want to just make money, or do you really want to make a difference? Those questions really are based on you, not on me. You want to write by offering short, punchy lists of solutions or steps to solutions. Your writing must appeal visually to a skimmer, and it must be dumbed down a lot, like right at a second grade level. If we go back to Jack's article for a minute, it really shares a lot of who Jack is. For example, the call to action at the end of the post says, "Note, I'm fully aware that even though this post is 4,325 miles long, it doesn't begin to cover the movers and shakers and the resources that are out there for Google Plus marketing. I did this for two reasons. One, I want to go outside now. Two, I want you to be a part of this giant resource by sharing your favorite Google Plus experts, videos, and links in the Google comments below." Well, if you just read nothing more than that part of this blog post, you really have a great understanding of who Jack is. He's a guy with a sense of humor. This post is not 4,325 miles long, but it's Jack's way of saying, hey, I stopped here for a reason. And number one, I want to go outside now. Okay, was it important for Jack to show that he wanted to go outside now? No. But what a different relationship he creates by putting that into the writing. It's not just written like a college white paper. Now, this is not all the great stuff out there, but maybe you want to give me some good stuff of your own, so let me know. Very sterile, very cold, very flat. Not very relationship-like or relationship building. The fact that Jack is really making things stand out, like you will be part of a viral post that gets lots of traffic. You might even get Google Plus famous. Makes it really easy for the skimmer to notice. If we look at the entire post, look at how many things jump out at you as you're just scrolling through it. We have several bulleted lists. Google loves bulleted lists. The bulleted list makes it much easier for the skimmer to notice what they're supposed to notice. We've got good use of different sized fonts. We've got some images in here. In this case, the images are actually the cover photos for each of these people's Google Plus profiles. But the entire post really appeals to someone who's just skimming, even if they're not reading the whole thing word for word. And because it's so appealing, people are likely to go right back up to the top, actually go and print it out and read the thing word for word. It is a really big deal and a big part of having the right mindset, being the expert, speaking with an air of authority. Anything to add to that topic, Jack?
Well, I'm glad you went over the post again and picked out those key elements that help with this next point. Somebody in a crowd, every crowd's got one. What if I'm not an expert? The thing is, I made it very clear there, I think, that I'm not the expert. Nobody's pointing to me as the Google Plus expert out there on the web. That I know of. I know people. I curate things, and I know where to go to find every answer in the world. It's so funny that anybody has any questions at all. Most of the time, I spend my time saying, "Let me Google that for you." You know, so there's another thing that in my previous life, I was a environmental activist and the director for several different organizations in the Southwest. I used to teach people how to track mountain lions and bears and things in northern Chihuahua and Sonora, Mexico, southern Arizona, southern New Mexico. And we always had people who, there were scientists among us all the time, and we would traditionally think of the people who were educated as biologists and the like to be the experts, and there were no other experts. But there was a big group of people I came to know that all called themselves naturalists. They were the undegreed people who quite often, when we got around the campfire at the end of the day to talk about the day and everything, those guys knew stuff. They knew facts. They knew things about things you would think just the biologists would know, because they're the experts, right? The non-degreed people who were really, really into certain things about the environment, wildlife, wilderness, whatever it might be, were able to be generalists and were able to know an awful lot more stuff than the specialists were, because nobody's just a biologist. You're a biologist with a specialty. Then you might just be a biologist that studies raccoons or mountain lions or something like that. And these guys would be utterly ignorant of anything outside their world because they were specialists. They knew everything. They could tell you head to tail everything about a mountain lion, but they couldn't tell you anything else about anything other than maybe the mountain lion's interaction with bears. They couldn't tell you anything much more about bears. The naturalists were generalists, and they had a lot more information to impart on people than the experts, I'm putting up my little air quotes now, had to impart on us on those little campfire things. So if you guys can think in terms of that, you realize that we actually have a lot more to share than specialists do. We can bring specialists together. You can bring the stars of your niche together, the people who are, if you're in self-help and you get an interview with Tony Robbins, you know, you're doing the interview, then you're associated with Tony Robbins and you are the expert. You got that guy to sit down with you, do a podcast or something. Well, now you are, by association, a naturalist, but still an authority, an expert, and someone who usually has a lot more to say around the idea of self-help than Tony Robbins even will, because he's a specialist. So that's a very, very important point, and because I don't want anybody getting stuck on it. You have an air of authority because you're passionate about something, and you never want to bring yourself down in your own eyes or in the eyes of others that, well, I'm no Tony Robbins. Of course you're not. There's only one of those, but there's also only one of you, and there's only one person who has a way to impart information on people in the way that you would, and that is you. And that is authority. And you get better and better at this stuff where you can start acting and being, no, not acting, being what the list on this page is indicating that we all have to be. Now just look out at all the blogs that you've ever talked about to other people or you've bookmarked or whatever. You'll notice that in most of those blogs that you've taken the time to interact on, and they match up to this list of what you need to be an authority. And so you guys already know what this is about. You already know what we're talking about here. It's just now the biggest part is putting yourself in that position and seeing yourself as an authority. And you all are. You are authorities. If you're dealing with a niche that you're very, very passionate about, you probably most definitely know more than 99% of the people out there, including people that have degrees in your area.
Here's a great question to ask everybody. Do you guys think that Jack is an authority on the topic of Google+? Let's see some answers in the questions box. Is Jack an authority on Google+? Joseph says yes. Who else? Doriana, yes, yes, yes. Jack, are you an authority on Google+?
I wouldn't point to me as the #1 authority on Google+ by any stretch. Nor would I even point to the 3 people that I put up there on my blog post. But you guys remember I did that for a host of reasons, one of which was I knew that all 3 of those people had a really big following, and they knew me well enough that if I wrote this post and put them in it the way I did, they'd go and explode it all over Google+. And that's exactly what they did. So,
we got some great answers. Cynthia says, Jack is a generalist, bringing together the specialists. Yes, he is an authority. And Gail says, he has created his authority by the post. And that's exactly what I wanted you guys to see. Even if you're brand new, just getting started, even if you're just putting out your very first blog post, you can become the authority in the eyes of every person in your space just by using curation in this unique way. But you've got to start by seeing yourself as the expert first, right, Jack?
Yeah. And don't stress about this point beyond this point. Beyond this slide that we're looking at right now, there's not an awful lot of time that you need to spend on this other than to understand what your goal is here by the list of things on this post or on this slide that Gina has up, and then move on. You should, from this day forward, have that in your mind at all times, and it should color everything that you do out there on the web so that you're not too much overbearing, you're not too, look at me, pounding your chest, I'm the expert, trying to pretend that you're more than, just really get comfortable with who you are and the idea that people are going to come along and love how you deliver information and the information that you deliver. And they're going to, if you have a direct competitor that for the same kinds of information, like me and Gina are putting up posts on our blogs that are very similar, and people are choosing one or the other based upon who they like. We might have the same exact information, but our delivery might be different. And some people might like her delivery over mine and whatever. That's really what we're getting down to here. And otherwise, there would only be one tech blog. There wouldn't be Gizmodo, Engadget, and Crunch Gear. There would only be one if people just wanted the information and that's it. And these guys cover the same thing. When Sony comes out with a brand new 57-inch, TV, they all 3 cover the exact information. But they all 3 have very distinct fans who love Engadget over Tech Crunch or Crunch Gear, or love Gizmodo over the other 2. And they just do because of the delivery of the information. They like writing style. They like the way that you speak to them, the way that you deliver the information. And that is the only unique thing about any of us on the web. Everything else can be replicated. If your site could easily be stolen and another name put on it, and somebody else could just put it up and not make any changes to it, that's not a very good thing. If they can continue to write with your personality because there's not that much of you in it, that is a very, very bad thing. Because then you're really not offering anything. If I could just take your site and do just as well with you as you are, then that's not a good thing. Somebody shouldn't be able to take my site and do that. And so just keep those things in mind, and then don't overthink it. Just, let it lie, because there's other things in this list of 6 that you will want to come back to often and go, am I on track with this? Am I doing this? This part should be a pretty easy concept.
And Paul wants to know, is there some sort of a template that is a guide to writing our posts the correct way? Well, as a matter of fact, Paul, I call it the magic formula for writing a powerful post. And that is key ingredient number 5 that we will get to in just a minute. And then we had a couple other questions in here. Paul also asked, I've heard that video converts better. Should our blog be more a video blog than a text formula blog? Nope, that's going to be covered, I believe, in key number 4. You don't want to have more video than text. You don't want to have more text than video. Again, it goes back to understanding that there is so much content that already exists that you need to be the person that's curating the content creating a unique arrangement of all the stuff that already exists, and then provide that content in many different formats. Google really understands that some people want to read, some people want to listen, some people want to watch, some people want to look at a pretty picture. The idea is to give every single person, no matter what their learning style, exactly what it is that they want, when it is they want it, in the format they want it in most. And we'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. For now, let's move on to the topic of targeting your market. Jack, if you could scroll back and answer Sunita's question about interviewing her husband, that would be great.
Okay.
So I'm sure if you've been around for very long at all, you've heard people talking about the fact that you need to target your market. Earlier, Jack said he's been responsible for 1.5 million targeted visitors to a website, websites of his clients, his own, his students, etc. But what the heck does it really mean to target your market? Saying that you've got the best new thing for everybody is not very targeted. Not everyone shares a common problem. Not everyone shares a common language. Targeting is about finding that group of people that shares a common problem or common set of problems, that languages their problems or sets of problems in a similar way. It's also about reaching that audience that shares the common problem as a group. It would be very difficult to build your business if every one of your prospects was in a different place, and you'd have to go to one place to reach one person, another place to reach another person. That's a lot like work, isn't it? Remember, we want to find and follow our passion so we can have fun building our business. Trust me when I say that Jack and I are having fun right now. We are not working, we are playing. And this webinar is a perfect example of how you can reach people in a group. All of you have a similar set of problems, one of which includes driving traffic, making money, and making a difference. And the third ingredient of targeting is dealing with the prospects and what it is they know. There are always going to be two kinds of problems you can help people to solve. There are those problems that your prospects know they have, that they're actively looking for solutions to. And then there's a second set of problems that I call the you don't know what you don't know problem. It is not a good idea to go out trying to reach a targeted audience talking about the second set, the you don't know what you don't know problem. You really got to think about who your audience really is and what it is they perceive their problem to be. As experts, you're going to know what your prospects need, but quite often what they need and what they want are night and day different. This particular training today was talking about a blogging system, not in the promotional materials, a relationship building system or strategic building of your business. Why did we talk about the blogging system? Well, because what you guys really want is a blogging system. What you really need is to understand strategy and to understand everything we've been talking about on today's call. But if we would have titled this presentation, Strategic Planning for Your Blog, more than likely we wouldn't have had very many people sign up for the training at all. You've got to figure out what your prospects want, what they're actively looking for solutions to, so that through your blog you can give them what they want, but do it in a way that also gets them to understand that if all you did was help them with what they want, it really wouldn't get them what they needed. At the beginning of the call today, we asked you, what is it that you really want? Do you really just want traffic or subscribers or something more? What you've really seen so far today is how important all those other things are than just putting up a WordPress blog, writing a blog post, and driving some backlinks. That's what I mean by really focusing on the problems your audience knows they have that they're actively looking for a solution to. Your targeting is done through every part of your system, through what you do with your blogging system, how you drive the traffic, your selling system, where you're reaching people. Everything is really about your targeting. When you're targeting your audience, you need to have an alignment of three things. It's all about reaching the right audience with the right message at the right time. Let me give you an example of how these three things become aligned. Let's say you just invented the best new golf ball in the world. This ball is going to go an extra 100 yards. It's going to go straighter. It's not going to hook. It's not going to slice. It happens to be January when you get word that your patent just got issued. You want to go out and sell more of these golf balls than anybody's ever sold of golf balls. You happen to live in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So you decide you're going to go out door to door and sell golf balls in the middle of January to all of the people that live in your area. You think you're going to sell many golf balls to people in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan in the middle of January when they're under 15 feet of snow? Probably not very many. Does that mean you can't sell your brand new golf ball in the month of January? No. It just means that you don't have the right alignment of the audience, the message, and the time. If you really want to do something door to door in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan in the month of January, you might try selling something that's like a workout video, how to stay in shape over the winter so that your golf game doesn't go down the drain in April when the snow is gone. Or you might try selling your golf balls to people in southern Florida or Hawaii. If it's January, people in those places are still playing golf. They still need golf balls. You've got to figure out through the content that you curate, through the messages that you put out both on your site and in social, how to have that match between the right audience, the right message, and the right time. An easy way to do that is something that we saw in Jack's article about the Ultimate Guide to Google+. Jack didn't have to guess what the right alignment of the audience, the message, and the time was. He simply found 3 people that were authorities on the topic of Google+, and then he asked his audience to tell him about all the other great stuff that already exists. Well, how awesome is that? When you ask the audience what it is they want and they come back and tell you about it, you don't have to guess. You don't have to wonder if you're going to succeed. You're going to succeed every time because they're helping you to align the right audience with the right message at the right time. Anything to add to that topic of targeting your market, Jack?
No, that pretty much covers it from all important angles, as much as we're able to get into today.
Great. So third key element of success in blogging is to use a modular approach to building your blog and making it the center of your traffic vortex or your traffic whirlpool. Paul, you definitely want to listen up on this one. Michael, if you're still here, you want to listen as well. So often, people in the internet marketing world, especially the gurus, they go out and they create a product, they put it up on website number 1. Then they go out and drive traffic to it. They get traffic from Facebook, and they might do some article marketing. They put up some tweets. They do a bunch of different things to drive traffic to that website. Then they come out with another product next month. So they go out and put up website number 2 for product number 2. Now they've got to duplicate everything all over again. They got to go back to Facebook and Twitter and put some more articles out, and that traffic goes to the second website. At some point, they start thinking about having a blog. They've heard about content marketing, so on a third website, they go and put up their blog. That is not what you guys want to do. That is definitely not an example of leverage. To have a different website for every product, a different website for your blog, is really going to make a lot of unnecessary work for you. Then it makes it hard. What are you going to send people to today? The solution is to use a modular approach. Use WordPress to build a site that sells all of your products. The home page, the front page of it, it should not be an opt-in page or a sales page. The home page should be something akin to an online magazine, something that really makes your content be the focal point, not something that really shows off the products you've got or tells people about that free report that they can opt into. On your site, you want to have both a series of pages and a series of categories that make it easy for people to find all the great stuff you've got. If we look at caregivingwithpurpose.com, it's a beautiful example of this. This is a site for caregivers. It helps caregivers to do more than survive in caregiving. It really helps them to thrive in caregiving. There are essentially 6 main categories on the site. The categories have their own row of navigation. Above that is a row of navigation that are the pages of the site. The pages are the static things that don't ever change, your opt-in page or sales page. The categories are those topics that you actually have content, blog posts for. And you want to rotate through those topics, having different blog posts in different categories. In this case, with 6 of them, every 6 days or every 6 blog posts, she's going to rotate through one post on each one of those topics. On the home page, we see the content organized by category, and it makes it very easy to understand how to navigate the site. If we even looked at her About page, on the About page, she tells a little story about a fictitious person by the name of Lisa. And in telling Lisa's story as a caregiver, it's really helping people to understand how all of the content on the site is organized. It's really creating what I call a traffic vortex or a traffic whirlpool for caregiving with purpose. No matter where people find Ina's content, whether that's on Facebook, on iTunes, on Google+, in search, that content brings them back to the site where they usually end up either on a blog post or on a category page. And no matter what post they read, every single post has a call to action that leads you to a low-end product that deals with that topic. That's what we mean by a modular concept. Now, Jack, I know when you and I first started working together and you were hearing about the way I teach this, you were really blown away from it, weren't you?
Yeah, and following my own path through all of this stuff, being one of those guys that used to have tons and tons of different sites and lots of different logins, and knowing that the web had changed at the time, is you had to really go deep in a site. It was becoming very, very obvious you had to go deep and not wide, and you couldn't have a big network of sites or even just 2 or 3 extras or 1 extra, because that extra site needed the same amount of attention as the one, you know, that you were calling your anchor site. And so I just started developing things more toward the center, more toward my center, and life has gotten a lot better, a lot easier, conversions are better. It's a lot easier to make one site an authority on the web than multiple sites, just to put it succinctly.
Well, yeah, think about it from Google's perspective. If you've got 10 different websites that each have 10 pages on it, Google starts going, are you really an authority in your stuff? I mean, it's just a skimpy little site, and I don't even get what it's really all about. If you simply take those 10 websites, pull them together into a single site that has 100 pages that deal with 10 different topics, now Google can really start to better understand why you have the stuff that you have, what it's all about. And because you now have 10 times more stuff, in Google's eyes, you've instantly become more of an authority. It really does simplify your life so much, because now you don't have to make choices about where to send people. You're always going to send people to the one site that you have. Whether you start them out on an internal page, whether you start them out on the home page, They really get exposed to everything that you talk about. You talk about a great way of serving people. Oh my goodness. I can remember how hard it has always been for me to navigate and find all the stuff that somebody has on anything. Well, if I've got to go to 6 or 7 or 8 sites to find everything, I'm pretty tired by the time I'm done. To Google in analytics, even though I visited, say, 12 pages, two pages on each of 6 sites, Google doesn't see that as 12 page views. Google sees that as 2 page views on site 1, 2 page views on site 2. So Google instantly starts thinking that me as a visitor is not very engaged, even though it may have just taken me a few hours to find all of those sites, and I was very engaged. Simply using the modular concept really helps Google to see how engaged your audience is with what you've offered. And I'll tell you what, although you don't hear many SEO gurus talking about it, the key to getting top search engine rankings is to improve engagement. Google can see the engagement, how many page views people click on, how many minutes they stay on your site, what your bounce rate is. Most websites today are using Google Analytics to see all that stuff. Every one of you needs to be using analytics to see all of that. And Google doesn't do anything by accident. Their analytics very much are there so that Google can better understand what websites to rank and search. So when you start combining things into a single website and getting way better engagement levels, instead of the industry average of 1 to 2 minutes on the site, you should see more like 4 to 6 minutes on the site. Instead of the industry average of 1 to 1.5 page views per visitor, you should start seeing more like 3 to 5 page views per visitor. The difference in the engagement level is so dramatic that Google really will very quickly stand up and take notice. Really use what it learns from analytics to influence your search engine rankings. And the more it can figure out what you're all about, the better job it will do of sending highly targeted people that will convert like crazy. A big part of getting that engagement, though, comes from key ingredient number 4, which is really choosing the content to curate. How do you find the content that you need to curate so that you can really be out there talking about all this stuff on your modular concept site? Well, one way to do it is to do what Jack did with the Ultimate Guide to Google+. Go out to social sites like Google+. Find those people who are authorities that are already talking about the topics you want to talk about. Hopefully, they're people that at least have a decent reach. I wouldn't go out and find the people that have 50 to 100 people in their circles on Google+. You want to find the people that have thousands of people that have circled them. You want people who really sound like experts. It's easy to do this on both Google+ and Facebook, is it not, Jack?
Yeah, and I do that. It's not like finding them, really. It's just being active in my niche. I'm there already. I'm there as a user of social media with a passion for a certain set of topics, and I curate. The very first thing that I ever curated was the people that I knew I needed to follow, and continue discovering new people, faces and reputations, people with big followings, experts, through those people that I initially followed. So that's the first thing that you have to do, is curate information to yourself and build yourself an incoming valuable information stream. And then this doesn't become really a task as much as something you do anyway. This is what an expert would do, an authority on any topic would do if your job is to speak about and put easy or complex topics together for your blog so people can better understand it, to do something that makes someone's life easier for them. Well, you're going to have to be clued into what everybody's talking about, and it's not just what the experts are saying, but what the people are asking out there. You've got to listen. Gary Vaynerchuk says the #1 use of social media above all else for people who brand ourselves, market our sites, products, and services is listening. It is not talking. It is not sharing. It is not anything else before listening. And if you approach it from that and go, next time you go to social media right after this, you start listening. You don't just immediately react to any certain thing or get dragged down a certain rabbit hole where you're in a conversation, then that's, kind of distracting you. Just listen. Use social media to listen, and you will find everything you need to ever curate on your site.
How do you choose what content to curate, though, Jack? What else are you looking for? You want people that have a decent exposure in social, but is there anything else that you look at when you're curating?
The popularity of the topic, and there's many ways to check on that. It's you can use Google+, you can use search.twitter.com, and you can use Facebook's graph search. All three tools to find out what there's a lot of distinct properties to each of those audiences. Facebook is the biggest one. Google+ is the second biggest one. Twitter is the third biggest one. And none of those distinctions really matter for our purposes for research. There's also a very certain type of person that gets on each one of those networks and is very active. So it's good to go when you're very first trying to figure this stuff out until you know which network you're really going to pour your heart and soul into. And by varying degrees, the other networks, go and do those searches. Go find out what questions people are asking and follow the significant groups that are in each one of those. In Google+, it's called communities. Twitter's just got tons and tons of lists of movers and shakers that you're supposed to follow. People put those lists together all the time. And then search.twitter.com, you can ask a question, and right now, 24/7, 365, you can find out what the world cares about that particular question, what they're asking, if they are. And if they are, and they're doing it a lot, who's giving them answers, and what kind of answers are they getting? And you find out what to curate based on what seems to be hot and also seems to not be covered as well as you would cover it. And this is where you come in. The only unique thing about you on the web is you. There are other people out there. If you're in a niche that's worth being in, there are other people out there publishing every day. So you're all in the same boat until you get down to the way that you would deliver information and the way that you would curate that information, and you make the decisions based upon what you feel is buzzworthy, that people are out there talking about. The questions haven't been sufficiently answered, at least from the question keeps coming up, or you just look at the answers that people are pointing to and you're like, no, that's not right. That's a bunch of crap. And I can do that all day long in my niche, and 99% of it is crap. And we don't put that up on Jack Humphrey's sites. we go and try to make things better for people. Luckily, I know how to get to #1. So, just by simply publishing and doing it the right way, I can get in the top 10 and start moving that really superfluous stuff down and become the resource where everybody's like, oh man, that was just the best. So you got to figure out what's going to give your people that feeling of wanting to click a button and like it or plus it or bookmark it or whatever. And that's how you pick what content to curate. You do this because you know who the real movers and shakers are, who are putting out the real quality stuff. And those guys are naturally going to have a big following. They should have, on some network, have a good following. If it's really quality stuff, but they're brand new, maybe you won't want to curate that piece. Maybe you want to go to the Robert Scoble of that niche and just grab theirs. Maybe you want to curate it, but bolster it with some other bigger celebrities in the niche that have a bigger following, so you get the best of both. You get their take on things. You also get their following shining their light on you, and their following is now all aware of you because they're pointing back to your post. And then you also get to put that little nugget from an up-and-coming person who's really done a superior job on an infographic or a video or a how-to or whatever it might be. And so you can cover all the bases that way. It's just really a matter of knowing your niche. And I'm not worried about anybody here knowing your niche, because you're all doing something that you're passionate about. You couldn't not know your niche if you tried. It's just making sure that you're aware of the tools that you can be using to make sure that you're covering all the bases out there and really getting a great big, easy to put together picture of what's important and what's not. What's on people's minds? What do they want to know more about? How can you put the information that's out there in a better context for them to understand it, consume it, and think you're number one. You're the awesomest. You're great. This is the best thing I've seen since so-and-so did a post like this 5 years ago. But all that information's out of date, and you're the first one I found that put it this way. These are the kind of comments that you're going to expect when you've picked the right content to curate. And you've done it considering all these different layers of importance. And, you know, you've got your audience, your big audience, which is the people that you're targeting to come to your site, to opt into your list, to buy your products. And you've got the other audience, which is the expert audience and the influencer audiences. And you also grab those people. Denise Wakeman is a good example. You grab her and make sure you put her in a prominent place if you're doing a post like I did here. And then I got her to say some stuff, and that's the reason. This is a post that I didn't put as much into, but I still got 35 plus ones. I'm still targeting Google+. And you guys might be asking, this is an aside, but you might be asking, why am I so into Google+? Well, if you landed on planet Earth today and you found out about the Internet, and you found out that the world's largest search engine had a social network, and that search engine uses that social network to rank sites on its search, which of these would you be on? Which of these would you be targeting if one of your goals was to land yourself back, like Jack Humphrey's fallen out of a lot of positions in the last year? Where would you go to find the very best chance for you to get back in the search engines with, I'm used to scoring for over 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 keywords for my sites. Not just scoring for keywords, but each one of those keywords has to send me traffic at least once in a month. I don't count any other keywords. I score for tens of thousands of keywords for big blogs, for Friday Traffic Report that's been going for years. But that's what I'm trying to get back to. Where am I putting all my emphasis? Clearly, on the left-hand side, you can see I'm putting it at Google+. I didn't have that resource the last time I was a big-time blogger. So to get back to being a big-time blogger, big-time relationship, all of that, that's why I'm focusing on this. And that's where I'm finding a lot of my content to curate, and I'm picking a lot of the winners that way. You're kind of like a stock picker. You're just like picking winners. If it doesn't work, then it might just end up being a post like this. It's got one like, two tweets, no, not very many plus ones. And that's fine. You're supposed to publish frequently anyway. So this gives you the ability to go out and try new things, and sometimes something will explode and you just don't know, you had no idea it was going to do that. And it was because of a particular piece of content, because you had your ear to the ground, because you were listening. And the number one thing that you do with social media is listen, and you pick something to talk about, to curate, to put into context and make something easier for people to understand or do or whatever, to learn. And people freaked out about it more than you ever thought. You can't do that unless you're always, you know, publishing something and always trying new things.
And in the last week or two, Google has made it even more obvious how much they love curation by giving us this brand new tool called Embeddable Posts from Google+. This is another post on Jack's blog, again very recent, and you see in it this little box that says Google+, Denise Wakeman, and it's content from Denise Wakeman on how to put this box into a blog post. If Google didn't like curated content, you think they'd give us a way to curate content directly from Google+ that makes it so easy? Just grab this little piece of code, pop it into your blog post, and the hard work is done for you. It even pulls in the +1s and the comments from Google+, so that as the conversations take place on Google+, your blog post continues to grow with fresh new stuff. How awesome is that? Truly having a presence on Google+ really is going to improve your search engine rankings faster than if you were only posting on Facebook. Google really prefers that we understand that they are going to beat Facebook out. You see it over and over again in stuff that Google is doing. They came out with Google Plus as a direct result of them wanting to just dominate the social world and get people off of Facebook and back to Google. And it has worked really well, hasn't it, Jack?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot more people are aware now of what they're supposed to be doing, and that's why the buzz right now is all about Google Plus. And guess what? My last 4 or 5 posts have been about Google Plus. I couldn't be more on top of my market's biggest concern right now than talking about this on my blog right now. And there's something in every market like this where you're either anticipating the crest of the wave, you're riding the crest of the wave, or you're flying down because you anticipated and you were riding the crest and you were just riding that wave all the way to the bank. And that's exactly what's happening here.
And understand that if we really want to dominate Google's search engine, the way to do that is to make use of all the other properties that Google owns, like Google+, like Google Analytics, and YouTube. Google owns YouTube, and that's a big, big deal for us to recognize as marketers, which is why it is so important to not just be writing blog posts in the form of text or text with an image in it, but to really be making use of multiple creative formats for every single blog post, especially if you're curating. A good example of what we mean by using multiple creative formats is a site called healthyweightlossconcepts.com. Cindy's helping us moderate this webinar, and she is the owner of healthyweightlossconcepts.com. If you go to askggg.com/Cindy, you will see a wonderful example of so much of what we've been talking about today. Number one, that post is curated. When we go and look at that on her site instead of in the PowerPoint, you'll see that the first couple of paragraphs, those are original. Then it says, read the article here. And there's a little box that has a slightly different colored background. At the bottom of it, read the full article here. The original article title with a link back to the original on a site called exercise.about.com. That is the curated content. Below it, Cindy has 3 paragraphs that are original that kind of tie the whole post together and offer a call to action. Now, that by itself gets Cindy some leverage because she's not just going out and writing content from scratch. She's going out, finding content that applies to the topic she's writing about, curating that onto her site, letting Google know that this is not an original piece, that this is something that is curated, and she's letting them know that by having that little read the full article here with the link back to it. Paul had asked, will you get into trouble with copyrights if you're borrowing content from other people's sites where the content is copyrighted? Well, I'll tell you what, About.com certainly copyrights all of its stuff. I'm not speaking as a lawyer right now, but as a coach and mentor in telling you that in copyright law there is a concept called fair use. Even if someone puts out a piece of copyrighted material, anyone else can borrow the copyrighted material if they give fair use. And fair use means you can't take bits and pieces and blow it out of context. In this case, Cindy isn't taking bits and pieces and blowing it out of context. She took one entire article, borrowed it, and she gave appropriate attribution. She didn't try to make it look like that article was original on her site. She made it very obvious to the readers and the search engine that this did originate elsewhere. That means it is within the fair use doctrine of copyright law, and it is totally allowed even though the original content was curated. When you're curating content, though, it's important that you're really adding value to it. You can't just go and find a site that's your competition and do this with one post after another post after another post and have your entire blog be nothing but the stuff they had on their site. That's not really adding value. One way of adding value is to add the intro and the outro to the blog post. The intro should really be a story that sets the stage for the article you're about to share. It should really get the reader in touch with the pain associated with the problem that the content you're curating can help solve. The outro should be a little bit of an explanation with a call to action. That intro and outro adds value, but you add even more value when you really turn it into multiple creative formats. At the top of every blog post on healthyweightlossconcepts.com, including the one at askggg.com/Cindy, you will see a button that says play video and another that says play audio. That is done so that Cindy's content shows up in many creative formats. Those who want to read get to read. Those who want to watch get to watch. Those who want to listen get to listen. Those who want a pretty picture, well, check out how Cindy builds her pictures. Her pictures are screenshots of the content she's curating. They can really read that original blog post in the picture if they blew it up a little bit. Cindy doesn't have to work hard to go find images. She doesn't have to go spend a fortune on iStock Photo or any other photo site to get images. All she does is very simple, very easy. Takes a screenshot, pops that up. And even in her videos, she's got this background image that really helps to continue her brand. Her domain name is prominent in it. Her logo is prominent in it. Her tagline, if you're not losing pounds, you're losing inches, is very prominent in it. And the video looks kind of like a PowerPoint slideshow of her entire article. It actually has sound in it if I had my sound enabled. You could hear the voice reading the article, and there's some music in the background as well. This is done in an automated way. And when Cindy first started doing this with having every piece of content in all creative formats, Cindy was really wondering whether or not it was worth the effort. Were people even listening to the audios or watching the videos? Cindy, can you unmute for 1 minute and let us know? Were people listening to the videos or listening to the audios and watching the videos when you went and looked? I'm pretty sure she's still here. Well, I'll tell you guys from Cindy, she was shocked the first day we went and looked in her Google Analytics and realized that 92% of the people visiting to read an article were actually clicking on the video. And it shows it to you right inside of Analytics. The idea is to optimize every part of the content in all the different formats, whether it's text, audio, video, images. Optimizing your images should really be a two-step process, not a one-step process. When you're optimizing your images, you actually want to optimize the file properties even before you put them up on your site. And this is why it's helpful to do more things like screenshots so that you actually have the file to optimize the properties with. If you're on a Mac, don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to do this on a Mac. This is one thing that can only be done on a PC. But here's how it works. Cindy takes a screenshot, saves it on her hard drive. She then goes into Windows Explorer where she sees the list of files, locates that image. She right-clicks on it. When she right-clicks, she selects Properties, and this little dialog box opens up. And in there, she can put in the title, the tags, a subject, even the authors. She simply puts in the title of her blog post, which should have her keyword in it. She puts in the tags from her blog post. The subject is the excerpt of her blog post. She will then put in her name and her domain name as the authors. She'll then hit Apply, OK, save it, and then she goes and uploads it to her website. Once it's on her website, Then she optimizes the HTML properties of it. When you go to put an image into a blog post, WordPress makes it very easy to do. After putting it in, you want to hit the Edit button inside of your WordPress Edit Post screen. Another little dialog box will come up. Once that opens, you want to put your blog post title in the title box. You want to make that title also be what's called the alternate text. Search engines can't see the content of the pictures very easily. At least not all of them can. So for search engines, they need to see the text behind the image. That's what the alternate text is. And then you want to include a link attached to that image as well. WordPress will automatically insert a link to the actual image. That doesn't serve your people very well. You want to put a link in that's meaningful, at least to you and hopefully to them. It's a good idea to make the link be a link to your opt-in page or your sales page, whatever link you're going to use in your call to action. The way that Cindy is getting her content into the audio and video format is using a WordPress plugin called Multimedia Toolbox. It makes it so easy to actually get your content put together into all the creative formats like audio and video. It does it all on autopilot. It even creates an audio podcast containing all of Cindy's audios and a video podcast containing all of Cindy's videos. All she has to do is write the post, publish the post, and when she publishes it, she checks a little box that says video post. Everything else happens on autopilot. So that brings us down to key ingredient number 5 for getting results with blogging. And Paul, this is where I said earlier when you asked, is there a template for how to put together a blog post like this? There is, and I call it the magic formula for writing a powerful post. The formula kind of works like this. There are 2 parts to it. There are where your keywords go. While we're relying more on social than anything else to help get into the search engines, where your keywords go is also really important for Google figuring out what keywords to rank you for. You want your keyword to go in the title of your blog post, in the tags of your blog post. You also want it to show up in the first 1 or 2 paragraphs, the last 1 or 2 paragraphs. In the content itself, you want to use the keyword itself as anchor text for 2 links. Anchor text means that thing that is blue and clickable. Like in this article, Why Can't I Lose Weight? It is anchor text for an internal link. An internal link means a link that goes to some other page of your site that uses the same keyword. You also want to use the keyword as anchor text for an external link. In Cindy's case, the link to the original article is her external link. It goes to some other site that uses the exact same keyword. In addition, you want to make sure that you write the post in a way that's not only going to target the right audience, but is really going to give you a way to serve your audience and make money at the same time. And that means that every blog post has a call to action in it. Google actually ranks posts better when their headline or title asks a question. It's because Google always looks at what is the intention of the searcher. And they know that most people putting a word or phrase into the search box, they really have a question in mind, like how do you get rid of fill in the blank with the keyword. They might only put in the keyword, but they really are thinking about a question. So you want to write your blog post titles so that they actually ask a question, and in the question include the keyword. Next is the start of the post. The start of the post really needs to give context to the entire post. It's a good idea to use the start to actually tell a story that gets your reader in touch with the problem and the pain associated with it. Telling a story about a fictitious person is totally fine. It can be a story about a real person. Maybe it's an actual customer that you're talking about. Doesn't need to be long. As we saw in Cindy's articles, it was a couple paragraphs. That was it. At the end of that story, reiterate the question you asked in the title. So how do you fill in the blank with your keyword? Below that, you can write an article from scratch, but it's better if the meat of the article is curated. And so how do you fill in the blank with your keyword? The answer to that is the article you curate. At the end of it, you want to make sure that you then go on to explain the solution that was in it and tie it together with a nice little call to action that takes people to something that can help them to get bigger results, better results, or faster results. When you use this wonderful magic formula, it really does improve the engagement and the conversions, sometimes very considerably. And that's as easy as it is to actually write the blog post. Doesn't have to be time-consuming, doesn't have to be long. Jack and I often get asked, how long should the best blog post be? You know, we really can't answer that question very easily. I've had blog posts as few as 100 or 200 words, and blog posts that were 35-plus pages. Both of them did equally well in terms of driving traffic and sales. There is no right or wrong answer. The best way I can answer the question, how long is a good blog post, is it needs to be long enough to get your reader in touch with the pain associated with their problem, and long enough to get them to understand that you have the solution that they need and want. Now, what's really interesting about using content that you curate is quite often choosing the right content can actually make you into such a huge authority in your field that it actually builds credibility for what you want to sell in a way that could never be done with original content. A good example of this is one of Jack's and my mutual friends, a guy by the name of Harlan Kilstein. Harlan has a site called meditationtechniques.com. Several months ago, probably 18 months or so ago, he had an article called Meditation Techniques More Powerful Than Morphine to Relieve Pain. And that was the entire keyword, the whole phrase. Well, he happened to stumble across an article put out by the Journal of American Medicine, pretty big authority in the field. And the article was talking about a recent study dealing specifically with how powerful meditation was for pain relief in comparison to morphine. It turned out that Harlan happened to have a free report on meditation techniques for pain relief. Or he could have written a blog post from scratch talking about how powerful meditation was and how it could be even more powerful than morphine, but he's just Harlan. What does he know about morphine or pain relief? When the Journal of the American Medical Association comes out with a study on that topic, though, boy, totally changes the credibility for his free report. So he simply had a couple of paragraphs that told the story about someone who had been in chronic pain for 20 years, had tried everything, had been on morphine for 10-plus years. The person finally found a way to relieve the pain using meditation. So how do you have meditation techniques that are more powerful than morphine to relieve pain? Underneath that, the whole JAMA article, and at the end of that, the link back to the original. And in the end of it, the explanation call to action, it was really simple. If you would like to learn the exact meditation techniques recommended by the Journal of American Medical Association for relieving pain even more powerfully than morphine, just leave a comment below and you'll get our free report instantly. Well, doing that made it so much easier for people to know that he wasn't just all full of hot air. He really had something that really was important to them if that was really their problem. So the whole idea of curation and choosing the content to curate is to really find authorities that have content that actually not only builds your credibility, but also builds the credibility of what it is you've got to offer. Anything to add to that, Jack, before I move on to the last key ingredient to success in blogging?
Nope, you've nailed it.
Awesome. Can't take a bite of my carrot while you answer, huh?
Keep on trucking, man.
So as we said earlier, one of the last key ingredients is consistency. As Jack showed you on his own blog, he hadn't been blogging very consistently in more than a year. Jack, how bad had traffic taken a nosedive because of that?
Oh, as bad as anybody should expect. There's no reason to have, you know, the background traffic, any evergreen stuff that I did was still, you know, ranked, but other people would come along, and since I wasn't doing new content, I wasn't getting new, fresh people to that new content who would stumble upon the old content and keep it alive as well. And Google is all about recency now. Google wants to know what the latest stuff is because everybody else does. Everybody's known for a long time. If you want to find something that's been published recently, you put 2013 or you put a more specific date to it. We all know how to search that way. Google noticed that the very day it started and realized that people don't want all the time to find an article from 1908. Sometimes you are looking for that, but then you'll put 1908 in there. And they want, by indication from how they're searching, they want something that's the very latest thing on G+ or blogging or whatever it is. So they've come to put that in their algorithm, and they love recency. They love the latest stuff when somebody's intent is clearly, through the search term that they put in, I want the latest stuff. That makes them a better search engine. That makes you a better publisher when you realize that because you're going to end up in the top 10 more often than not when you understand those signals.
And you can't really build relationships with people when you're only talking to people once in a blue moon. It really takes consistency to build relationships. Think about the last time you were out and met somebody new. If you met that person for the first time and didn't talk to them for 12 months or even 3 months, you think you're going to get very close very fast? Probably not. The people that are likely to become your friends, the people who are likely to become the people you hang out with, are the people that you're going to communicate with fairly shortly after meeting them. And then maybe even a week or every couple of days, you're going to talk to them again. That's really what blogging is all about, especially when you've got a brand new site and it doesn't look very lived in. Google needs to see that you're serious about this. Your readers need to see that you're going to be there for them. The closer you can get to blogging 5 days a week, the better. Several years ago, I used to teach my students that they needed to be like Huffington Post and have a minimum of 4 articles per day. I don't think that that's critical anymore. I think that for one person, that's a lot. But there's no reason why you can't do 5 articles per week when all you have to write is the intro and the outro, and all you're really doing is going out and finding great stuff to curate. Blogging is just one part of building a successful business, but it is a very important part. It is an important part because it's all about so many different things. It's how you drive your traffic. It's how you build your list. It's how you start the relationship that creates customers that not only do business with you for life, but tell everybody they know about you and what you've got to offer. It's really a 7-step process for driving targeted traffic. And this weekend, Jack and I and Ken Krell as well are going to spend a full day and a half to teach you in detail, step by step, that 7-step process for driving traffic with your blog so that you can build your list. You can really start dominating the search results. You can really start engaging an audience to create customers, sales, and getting people to have such a strong relationship with you that when they talk about themselves, they can't help but bring up your name. It's really about magnetic relationship marketing. Jack, why don't you tell them a little bit more about what they're going to learn when they join us this weekend for the Blog Systems Workshop 3?
Well, it's going to be about everything that we couldn't go into today at all or in depth like we would on this weekend. We're going to be doing, how many hours total is it? It's 1 to 6 or 12 to 6 on Saturday and all day pretty much on Sunday, right?
It's about 13 or 14 hours this weekend, plus a bonus call 2 weeks later that's another 2 or 3 hours. So it's a good close to 20 hours by the time we're done.
So what separates you guys now from what I sent out a video to my peeps yesterday, and some of you are on, and you'll remember that I said at the end of this weekend, we're going to be able to, you're going to be able to really control and bend the web, just to put my key phrase in there, to your will rather than feeling like a little rag doll getting kicked all over the web because you feel as though the only way you know how to market, and it's true, is that you have to be, all these outside factors are just trying to keep you down. You know, Google will change an algorithm because you're doing something wrong. Anytime Google changes an algorithm, it affects us not at all, ever. I've never been affected by a panda, penguin, or any other fuzzy, cute animal that Google has put out because I've never marketed in the danger zone when they started doing these updates. I did do it way in the early days, but that's when we were at war with Google at the time. And then we became friends with Google, and it's been a much better relationship for me and Google and my bank account and everything else. So everything that we were not able to cover, Module 1, we're going to go over the more in-depth stuff, doing market research to know your audience, what your audience is buying, understand your audience's level of awareness of your products, the questions that they have. Module 2, Introduction to Blogging, you're going to have setting up the blog and doing it right, setting it up the way I would do it or Gina would do it if we were doing it for you and we were in your niche, exactly down to the last plugin, down to the very last little nook and cranny to set up a professional web presence on every level for your readers and for yourself to run something that's simple to use, that doesn't get in your way technologically so that you get, slowed down or anything like that. We show you exactly how to do all of that stuff. One thing we didn't get to talk about today was your opt-in system. There's a lot to that, and we'll be covering all of that, installing plugins, understanding how WordPress organizes content and its effect on SEO. You're going to get to see lots more examples of exactly these types of posts that we focused on today, how they work, and how Google really sees them, so that you can tell Google where you want to rank. Think about the power of that for a second. You're basically designing exactly how you want the rest of the web to react to your presence on it. And that is a very, very powerful thing that the vast majority of people on the web that are trying to do this stuff have no clue how to do. We're going to talk about keyword research. Gina's got the tools for keyword research way, way down, and then I show you the more qualitative instead of quantitative ways to shore up what you found with the quantitative keyword research tools and everything, and then how to apply that so that it doesn't, so that your subsequent content doesn't end up looking like a bunch of keywords. So that it still works for your readers and everything, but still does the exact job you want it to do. That's got tools with the keyword spreadsheet, predicting traffic, all kinds of stuff on optimizing content. I've done courses on this. Gina's done courses on this. The multiple creative formats thing we'll get into, the plugin that makes all that happen, how to use it, where to get it, all that stuff is going to be in there. Everything about linking, what Google thinks about backlinks, internal links, external links, deep links, what are they, why do they matter? You're going to know all of that stuff. Also, Google authorship, extremely, extraordinarily important, and if you can't come away very, very soon, somehow, you do it in this workshop when you show up this weekend, knowing about that, then I would not really pursue anything else online, period. It's that important. If you don't have that down, that's a huge thing. And then advanced SEO strategies. And then Module 4, writing content that drives traffic and sales. All of these bullet points deal with more depth than what we've talked about today. Gina really, really got into it there at the end in the last couple of steps in the list of 6 about curation. And we'll also talk about when you're going to write original content or when you're going to put together an original video or what purposes those things would serve, where you do want to sit down and do a little bit of work. You know, it is going to be a little harder, but you know what the ROI is going to be on that. You're going to know absolutely before you ever start a project like that what your return on that investment is going to be. And it's going to be big enough that you're going to be eager to go run and play on some video or create a written post that's more in-depth and more original content for exactly the reasons. You'll know why, and you'll know exactly how to do it. The traffic sources worksheet, there's lots of worksheets and things that we'll be going through this weekend that will serve you well after this weekend as you go on and apply all of these things. Relevance, why it matters, optimizing images like we talked about, Gina talked about today. Module 5, driving traffic with your blog, the way I would do it, the way Gina would do it, the way we do this stuff, and it's way different than most people are talking about. One, a lot of people want you to work really hard. Yeah, they want you to work really hard, and you heard at the very beginning when I introduced myself, I'm not so much into that as I used to be. I can't work 24/7 like I used to, stay up all night and everything. I just can't. But I had to find a way to do it. I would like it if it would have stayed as effective and I was making as much money back then. I'm making more money and I'm working less now. And I'm driving the traffic that I need. I'm not driving any extraneous traffic or any of that junk. You don't need a million visitors. You need targeted traffic, and the number of targeted visitors you need, it remains to be seen until we work through the process in Module 5, what kind of traffic you're going to drive. So all your content, everything that goes with that in Module 5. And then number 6.
Oops. Hold on.
Number 7.
No, I'll do 6.
Is so good, we just merged it into number 7. Building membership sites on WordPress. Getting that community together and doing it simply. Why are they important? Well, community engagement. You can probably figure out why membership sites are important on the surface. We'll go deep, and we have enough time to do it this weekend. The tools we use to build membership sites, creating the look and feel and everything, and the strategies for improving and learning a little about how you even calculate the lifetime value of your customer. Why should you know that? Here's how you do it. Here's what the lifetime value of your customer is. How do we exceed that? How do we get past that? How do we make that even bigger per customer? Number 7, then, getting bigger results and knowing your metrics. We're going to be talking about Google Analytics. It's the only thing that you should be using, and it's sort of complicated. There's some things in there that we pay attention to, other things we totally ignore. Well, what are those things? What would Jack and Gina and Ken pay attention to and not pay attention to? It'd be really nice to know that the majority of Google Analytics is superfluous to us. We don't care. But the one things that we do watch, it helps you to decide how much traffic you need and then how to put the plan together to get it. And then letting your metrics tell you what to do with confidence so that you know what you're doing, you know where people are going, what they're doing on your site, how they're engaging, and then how you can improve it through your analytics. So we want everybody to show up, everybody on this call. I mean, there really isn't anything else that would be more important than some gurus sitting down with you and just pouring their hearts out exactly what they would do in your situation to build a presence that controls what the web does rather than the web controlling you. And so we've got some bonuses to entice you. But so far today, you should be able to tell pretty clearly that we know what we're talking about, and we have something I really am anxious to get this information out to as many people as possible. And I want you guys all to really watch this. The bonuses are nice and everything, but what you really want to do is get it in your head that this is a very, very important weekend coming up. And you can, in 20 hours, solve all of the problems that you're having, every single last one of them, with getting big on the web and going really where you want to go, your loftiest goals that you had when you started your business online or started getting interested in a business online. That's what we're talking about.
And, you know, this weekend is very different than what you've seen today in one respect. Today, the only way you could interact with us was to type to us, and we've done our best to interact back in the typing. But this weekend, the entire time we're going to be together, you guys will be unmuted. You can self-mute, but you will be able to talk to us. You will be able to show us your actual website, show us your stuff, and get our help in improving it. Very different, isn't it, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk in general terms. We can give you examples of our own stuff, but if we can look at your site, every niche has its own little peculiarities, and you're going to have to figure those little peculiarities out and match that up to what Gina and I are talking about in the training. And there might be some things in there that we can help you with. So if you do make it live this weekend and you don't rely on the recordings completely, you're going to be able to get on what Gina calls a hug seat, and throughout the weekend be able to ask questions pertinent completely to your niche. And that'll help. That'll help an awful lot.
And the bonuses are really by design, meant to get you ongoing support long after this weekend is over. Jack and I and Ken, we really don't want to just show you how to do something and then have you sit back and never do anything with it. We want you to use what you learned this weekend to really start getting the results that you want for your life and your business, to really help you start making the impact we know you can make. And so you'll have access to support long after the weekend is over. You'll get a complimentary one-on-one strategy session. That might be with me, it might be with Jack, it might be with Ken, it might be with a member of our coaching team. All of us charge in excess of $1,000 an hour for our time, and that has a very real value to you. When you leave this weekend and you've got questions about, oh boy, how does this fit in with what I want to sell and what I really want to do long term, strategy session is the way to get that question answered. Same thing with the lifetime membership that you get in the 30-day IM challenge. That program is an introductory program, but it's also really, really powerful. There are over 750 pages worth of materials complete with action steps and resources. And every week for the rest of your business career, you will have access to a weekly coaching call, all just by getting your ticket to this weekend's workshop. The course is valued at a very conservative $997. The total value of the bonuses is $2,588, which brings this package to a very, very conservative value of $3,585. And when you go to askggg.com/BSW and the number 3, you will see that the tuition is $247. Ken, not being here today, just kind of got us a little gift that we could give you. Ken was a stickler at last 7 days before the event. It's $247. We're not going to discount it. But Jack and I talked about it while we were having trouble getting on, and we both decided, you know what? Let's give everybody a nice little gift today. You can still get your ticket, but only until tomorrow, $197, when you use coupon code BSW50OFF. The BSW is capitalized, the off is lowercase. Just go to askggg.com/BSW, the number 3. When you get there, scroll to the bottom of the page. Underneath the Add to Cart button, you'll see a little box that says if you were given a special offer code, enter it here. Type in BSW3, 50 off, and go ahead and click on the Get Special Offer. I'm sorry, BSW 50 off. Don't put the 3 in there like I did. BSW 50 off. Click on the Get Special Offer. You will then get taken directly to PayPal, where you can finalize your tuition. Now, know that once you're inside of your PayPal account, you will see an option for what's called PayPal's Bill Me Later. I am loving the new PayPal Bill Me Later feature because it makes your life so much easier. If you are here in the U.S., you can take up to 6 months to take care of the $197 tuition. The way that it works is very simple. Take $197 divided by 6. It's roughly $32.83 or 84 cents a month for 6 months. No interest, completely zero interest. You just go in, take care of getting the application in. It's usually a fairly instantaneous approval, especially if you've used Bill Me Later before. That can make it super easy for you to get started right now, no matter what your finances look like. And I'll tell you what, tomorrow at noon, tickets really are going back to the 247. That coupon code will not work at noon Eastern time tomorrow. We will be together from 1 to 6 on Saturday, from 9 to 6 on Sunday. We will get back together again 2 weeks later for a bonus Q&A session. We really want to make sure that all of you get going to really start living the life of your dreams, start making a difference in the world, and start really getting the results that you want. Our mission is to help every person on this planet to live the life of their dreams. It is not a realistic goal for us to try to do that on our own. The only way we can accomplish our mission of touching the life of every person on this planet is through all of you. If we can really help you to make a difference in the lives of the people that you touch, then all of us together as a group really can impact every life on this planet. And that's what Jack, Ken, and I really get jazzed about. It's what we get up for every morning. So we have one simple question for you. Will you be the next entrepreneur that we help? Will you be with us this weekend as we put this all together? So again, you want to go to askggg.com/BSW3 and put in coupon code BSW50 off.
You know, I just looked up what Camtasia costs, and that's just a software program. It's a really important one, and it's worth every penny they charge for it. But without a coupon code, it's like $249, something like that, and it might be a little bit less if you find a coupon if they're running a special or whatever. But that's one piece of software. It solves a very, very important problem that you really, really, really want to get solved, which is being able to screen capture video, do great videos, edit them, and all that. And everybody that buys it gladly buys it. Nobody returns it. They love it. So, and then I look at this and I'm like, man, people like Trish and others. Trish said, for someone with tens of thousands of dollars in student loans, this is 1/1000th the cost and 1,000 times more information. Really, I'm so grateful. And I'm almost thinking Trish thinks that this is too good to be true. And it probably is too good at $197, but it is very much true that we are doing this for $197 measly dollars for all of that content all weekend. And again, I want to reiterate that my expectation, my personal thing, in order for me to get up in the morning and do this with Gina and go through this weekend and miss some football and some other things that I would rather be doing maybe on a normal weekend, the reason I do it and the reason I'm missing all of that stuff is because I want people coming out of here with the ability to control your future and understand exactly what you need to understand to dominate in your niche on the web. And that's a really, really lofty goal. I mean, that's a really big deal. How can that be accomplished in a weekend? Well, we're obviously spending enough time on the topic. And we'll probably go over. If you guys are into it and we're still doing a hug seat or whatever on Sunday, I'm sure that Gina would be more than happy. I will be more than happy to finish up and keep going. But we also follow up. I mean, I've learned since working with Gina that you're never really a one-off kind of client. Like if you get involved in this, there's always these other things, the bonuses and everything. You never really get cut loose from Gina's vortex, is what I've learned.
No, you really don't.
And people are showing up this weekend that have come to other workshops and other things, and the only reason that either of us has had the longevity that we have, this very, very long career that we've had on the web, is because we deliver the goods. And we want to prove that this weekend with this workshop and with a very, very lofty goal that you're not going to be next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday thinking, I'm going to need another course on this. I'm going to need to spend more money on this because I didn't quite get enough out of this weekend. You will absolutely, I guarantee you, you will not have your time wasted and you will not come away with the feeling of, there's just some more stuff I need to learn before I become a really big thing on the web. Everything that you're going to need is going to be included in this weekend. It's very much that important to me, and I'm more than happy to do it because I love the feedback that you guys give after workshops like this. And you kind of get addicted to that. and I have a seriously bad addiction to it. I love helping people, and I know you guys are here still after all this time on this webinar today. You're here for a reason. You must be here for a reason. You must have heard something that has intrigued you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You've got all better things to do if it's not your thing, and yet you're all still here. So there's really nothing else I can say on the topic other than I will see all of you guys this weekend, and I will be so happy to share absolutely everything that I know about relationship marketing, blogging, and happy to answer every single question until you guys have no more questions. I got choked up. And until it's done. So I'm super excited. I'm so glad it's here. We've done a couple preview webinars, and I'm tired of talking about it. I want to show everybody this is action. This is go time. And so let's do this.
And don't worry, for people like Paul who already have their hosting accounts, who need some help getting their Gina blog set up with all the right settings, the right theme, the right whatevers, don't worry, we've got plenty of ways for you guys to get that taken care of. We'll give you our best resources this weekend.
And I'm going to have, just so Trish doesn't worry too much about me, I'm going to have somebody feeding me the scores throughout the day just so I can feel like
I'll be feeding you the scores because football will definitely be playing the whole time we're in this workshop. Yeah. You guys have to understand, Jack and I are massive football fans. This is like the time of year that I live for. For me to give up my football weekend is not easy, but I will do it for all of you.
Yep. Yeah,
so I'm sorry I got cut off and GoToWebinar wouldn't let me back in, but just to wrap up, we have one simple question, and that is, will you be the next entrepreneur that we help? We really see our mission as touching every life on this planet. And that isn't doable ourselves. It's physically impossible for us to touch the life of every person on this planet, even though there's 3 of us. But it is a doable mission when we work with all of you. If we can simply teach all of you how to go out and touch the lives of other people, together we really can touch the life of every person on this planet. And that's what we get up for. That's what we live for. So we look forward to working with each and every one of you this weekend when you join us for Blog Systems Workshop 3. Just go to askggg.com/BSW3, scroll down to the bottom, and click and put in the coupon code BSW50OFF. And you will get your ticket at the wonderful early bird discounted tuition of $197. We'll see you guys on Saturday. Shanita, I'll email you in a minute. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You want to put that email in there for anybody if they're having any trouble or have any questions? Why don't you put your support email in?
Yeah, that's a great idea. If any of you have any issues getting taken care of, getting into the workshop, you can simply email me or Shelby at adminteam@directionsu.com. That's ADMINTEAM @directions, plural, the letter U.com. adminteam@directionsu.com. It is in the chat box. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and we will see you all on Saturday. Bye, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Cynthia, I'm just checking it right now. It looks like it's working just fine on my end. Make sure you put in BSW in all capital letters, the number 50, and the word off in lowercase characters. Let me know if that works. I'm sorry, Gail, not Cynthia. Gail, I'm going to unmute you for a minute so that we can talk to one another to make sure we get this taken care of. Are you there, Gail? Okay, in case you don't have a microphone, I am going to put into the questions, Gail, my phone number. If you want to call me in 1 minute, as soon as we hang up, I will make sure that we get it taken care of for you. Great. I'll talk to you in a minute, Gail. Bye, everybody.
The organizer has ended the session, and this call will be